Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. I'm Thomas Miller. Thank you for joining us. This is the weekly free newsletter published every weekend on MMAcycles.com by financial analyst and astrologer Ray Merriman, who is in the process of writing his 49th annual Astrology Financial Forecast, the Forecast 2025 book, which I am in the process of narrating to audiobook. But we pause now to take a look at the week behind and the forecast for the week beginning November 18th. A news story to kick us off from CNBC.com on Friday. Stocks tumbled Friday as the post-election rally fizzled and investors fretted over the path of interest rates. October retail sales data on Friday showed a 0.4% increase, slightly better than the 0.3% forecast from economists polled by Dow Jones. Traders also grappled with recent comments from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who said on Thursday that the central bank was not in a hurry to cut interest rates. He noted that the economy's strong growth will permit policymakers to take their time as they decide the extent to which they reduce rates. End quote. And now Ray's commentary for the week past. Stocks pulled back last week from their historic highs in October and early November. In Asia and the Pacific Rim, the Indian Nifty stock index got hit the hardest, dropping to a new 20-week low, even below the low of August 5th. The Hang Seng Index of Hong Kong fell to its lowest level in 7 weeks. But even though the Australian ASX, Chinese SSE, and Japan's Nikkei indices all fell, the declines were not dramatic and well above their monthly lows. In Europe, the DAX dropped to its lowest level in 7 weeks. Its all-time high was on October 17th, which was a strong MMA Geocosmic critical reversal zone, also shown in the Forecast 2024 book. The Netherlands AEX, London FTSE, and Zurich SMI got slammed harder, with each falling to their lowest levels since their primary cycles began with the low 14 weeks ago on August 5th, as Mercury turned retrograde. The trickster will return again shortly. The U.S. markets started the week on fire again with new all-time highs in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, NASDAQ, and S&P Monday through Wednesday. However, each began to fall hard by Friday on thoughts that the economy is still strong and the Fed may not continue lowering rates as soon as expected. Saturn, ending its retrograde period and turning direct on Friday, might have had something to do with the newfound cautionary sense, especially given that Venus entered the skeptical sign of Capricorn November 11th as the highs were being made. Last week we discussed that Venus will leave the expansive and optimistic sign of Sagittarius for the more skeptical and prove-it-to-me sign of Capricorn November 11th. Venus, money and love, won't settle for promises now. It wants to see deliverables on those promises. That dynamic is reinforced with Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, turning direct on November 15th, end quote from last week. These cash markets gapped down on Friday, with the NASDAQ even forming a bearish island reversal, a gap down below an area that was part of a recent gap up. Gold and silver also tumbled last week, with both falling to their lowest levels in 9 weeks. Since its all-time high just above 2,800 on October 30th, gold plunged to $25.41 on Thursday, November 14th. Likewise, silver fell sharply last week to $29.75 after posting its multi-year high of $35.07 back on October 22nd and 23rd. Bitcoin was more similar to the stock market, soaring to a new all-time high of $93,480 on November 13th, but then pausing to go sideways in what appears to be a bull flag pattern. Crude oil was not so fortunate, falling for the 4th time to $65 to $67 support area over the past 2 months. And now this week's short-term geocosmics. A quote from Dan Henninger from the Wall Street Journal on Thursday. He said, "It is remarkable that by the end of this election, Donald Trump actually ran successfully on restoring, quote-unquote, common sense. I guess it's a powerful idea again," end quote. And from Peggy Noonan in the Wall Street Journal, also on Thursday, She says the first wave of nominees to the Trump administration announced this week included normal Republicans. All are grown-up players who have political histories that preceded Donald Trump. But the second wave, Pete Hegseth as Defense Secretary. As for Matt Gaetz being nominated as Attorney General, well, this is just straight-out trolling, right? The fourth-term Florida congressman has won a reputation as disruptive, divisive, aggressive, lacking in groundedness and wisdom, and dogged by ethics allegations. He seems to see politics as an offshoot of showbiz and has entertained his followers with successive attempts to take down GOP leaders in the House on behalf of, well, it's never quite clear. End quote. Ray's thoughts. Right on time. As right as Saturn turns stationary direct, markets are declining as investor sentiment changes from confident to cautious. Not only are Saturn and Capricorn highlighted now, but November 15th is also a full moon conjunct Uranus, the planet of disruption. Saturn turning direct is a strong level 1 signature, which means it correlates with primary cycles in over 2/3 of historical cases within 10 trading days. The Sun-Uranus opposition on November 16th is a level 2 signature, with a correlation to sharp reversal swings within only 4 trading days. There was a high November 11th through 13th, and these studies indicate there will be a low by November 20th. Then the concern becomes, can the next rally make a new all-time high in all 3 U.S. markets? If not, then we have a case of intermarket bearish divergence in the United States. There are already several cases of intermarket divergence throughout the world. For instance, the German DAX and Australian ASX made new all-time highs on October 17th, and the Indian Nifty on September 27th. They aren't making new all-time highs together, which is a pattern seen when long-term cycles top out. Also of concern is that November is the 7th month following the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction of April 20th. Historically, if U.S. stock indices are making new highs into the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the rally tends to top out by the 7th month afterwards. We may have a better idea of whether global stock indices are still bullish or are in the early stages of a healthy 10% or greater decline as we approach Mars turning retrograde and Neptune turning direct December 6th through 9th. At the same time, the Sun will be in opposition to Jupiter, one of the strongest geocosmic reversal indicators that we have uncovered in our research studies. There has not been a 10% decline in U.S. stocks since October 2022, so it's overdue. Based on my analysis of U.S. stocks for the Forecast 2025 book, I think we could see more than one double-digit decline in 2025 as the 3-year cycle comes due mid-year. Mercury will also be turning retrograde soon, November 26th through December 15th. We already see the trickster at work as it entered the shadow period on November 7th. It turns retrograde right on President Trump's natal moon and in direct opposition to his natal Sun-Uranus conjunction in Gemini. Promises made, but, well, we will probably see signs of the weave again. For reasons unknown to many, the voters elected him to be the one to lead the world into and through the Aries vortex. It's starting to look like a new Disney ride, perhaps competing with Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and we thought we were voting for common sense. Actually, we were. It's still Jupiter in its waxing phase to Saturn, a time when moderates regain power from the extremists in political ideology. The wish is there. The vote was there. Will the actors now play their role and lead us by common sense as promised? Or is everyone in politics to be a trickster? And that's this week's newsletter. Enjoy the big, beautiful supermoon in the sky this weekend. I'll see you for Level Up on Sunday night, back for the Fun Astrology podcast all week next week. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend.